There is a moment that catches you off guard. It doesn't arrive with a bang or a catastrophe. It doesn't announce itself with flashing lights or dramatic music. It arrives quietly, softly, almost invisibly. One morning, you wake up. The sun is coming through the window the same way it always does. The birds are singing outside. The world is moving forward. But something feels different. Something feels heavy. Not the kind of heavy that comes from a hard workout or a late night. A deeper heavy. A weight that has settled into your bones, into your chest, into the very fabric of your being. You feel it when you breathe. You feel it when you walk. You feel it when you try to smile. And you realize something startling. You aren't tired because you are weak. You aren't tired because you have failed. You aren't tired because life has been unfair to you. You are tired because you are carrying cargo that was never assigned to you. You picked it up somewhere along the way, anxiety, obligation, guilt, shame, expectation, and you never put it down. You just kept walking, assuming the weight would eventually feel normal. Assuming your muscles would grow strong enough to handle it. But they don't. They never do. The weight doesn't get lighter. You just get more exhausted. This is the strangest part of the human condition. We can have a good job, a roof over our heads, food on the table, and people who care about us, and still feel completely empty. Still feel like we are drowning. Still feel like we are running on fumes. Why? Because we are haunted by ghosts. The ghost of an old mistake we made 10 years ago. The ghost of someone else's opinion that we can't seem to shake. The ghost of a relationship that died years ago, but we keep digging it up and trying to revive it. The ghost of a future we are terrified we will never reach. We are exhausted by the invisible. Nobody sees the weight we carry. Nobody knows the battles we fight in our own minds. And that is why today's message is different. Today, I want to talk about subtraction. Not addition. Not another goal. Not another habit. Not another self-help mantra. We don't need more. We need less. We need to let go. Because the next level of your life isn't hidden behind something you need to find, it's hidden behind something you need to release. The door to your future isn't locked. It's blocked. Blocked by things you are still holding onto. And it's time to start letting them go. 1. Eliminate the need to explain yourself. Think about the last time you made a decision that someone else didn't like. Maybe you left a job that was slowly killing your soul. Maybe you ended a relationship that had expired long ago. Maybe you decided to stop going to every social gathering and started staying home to work on yourself. Maybe you chose a path that nobody around you understood. And what happened next? Did you feel the immediate urge to explain yourself? To defend your position? To justify your reasoning until they got it? Did you find yourself rehearsing speeches in your head? Did you stay up at night thinking about how to make them understand? Did you send long texts explaining your thought process? Did you try to prove that you were right, that you weren't crazy, that you had good reasons? We do this constantly. We turn our decisions into debates. We turn our lives into courtroom dramas where we are both the defendant and the lawyer. We feel like we owe everyone an explanation. We feel like we need their permission to live our own lives. But here is the truth that maturity hands you. You are not required to be understood. You are required to be authentic. You are required to be true to yourself. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, understood this deeply. He wrote that the opinions of others exist entirely outside your sphere of control. You could spend your entire life trying to sculpt a perfect image for the world, trying to manage how people perceive you, and you would still fail. Because people are looking at you through their own dirty lenses, their own insecurities, their own expectations, their own fears, their own unresolved issues. You cannot control their interpretation of you. You can only control your character. So stop talking. When you make a decision, own it. When someone questions you, let them. When someone misunderstands you, let them. When someone talks behind your back, let them. Silence is the ultimate power move. Silence says that your peace does not depend on their approval. Silence says that you are secure enough in yourself that you don't need to defend your existence. Sometimes the most powerful sentence you can say is, "I've made my decision." And then stop talking. No speech. No explanation. No performance. Just peace. 2. Eliminate comparison. A few decades ago, a man could live a perfectly good life without knowing what everyone else was doing. He could wake up, go to work, come home, and never see the highlight reels of strangers. He could measure his life against his own standards. He could be content with what he had because he didn't know what he was missing. But today you wake up, and before you've even gotten out of bed, you can see hundreds of people appearing richer, healthier, happier, and more successful than you. Someone bought a new house. Someone launched a company. Someone got married. Someone is traveling through Europe. Someone your age just became a millionaire. Someone is living your dream life. And you haven't even had your coffee yet. And suddenly, your own progress feels insignificant. Your own achievements feel small. Your own life feels like it's lacking. You start comparing your behind-the-scenes struggle to everyone else's highlight reel. You start measuring your worth by how you stack up against strangers on a screen. But there's a problem. You're comparing your entire life to moments someone decided to show you. That's not reality. That's a curated performance. That's a carefully selected collection of the best 5 minutes of someone else's year. You don't see their struggles. You don't see their failures. You don't see their sleepless nights. You don't see their moments of despair. You only see the trophy, never the scars. The Stoics had a better approach. Instead of asking, "Am I ahead of them?" they asked, "Am I becoming better than I was?" That's a completely different game. That's an internal game. That's a game you can actually win. Because if your definition of success depends on being ahead of somebody else, there will always be another person to beat. There will always be someone richer, someone faster, someone younger. And you will never arrive. You will never feel enough. You will spend your entire life running a race that never ends. Eliminate comparison. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just stop participating in the competition. Build your life according to your own blueprint. Improve your health at your own pace. Strengthen your mind with your own discipline. Develop your skills according to your own timeline. Become someone you are proud to be. And let everyone else run their own race. 3. Eliminate people who constantly drain your energy. Now this one requires maturity. Because not every person who drains you is a terrible person. Not every person who exhausts you is evil or malicious. Sometimes, you are simply no longer compatible. Sometimes, the connection that once felt so natural now feels forced. Sometimes, the person who used to lift you up now weighs you down. Think about a conversation that leaves you exhausted every single time. You already know the pattern. The complaints, the negativity, the unnecessary drama, the constant criticism, the victim mentality, the passive-aggressive remarks, the way they make everything about themselves, the way they dismiss your struggles while magnifying their own. You walk away from that conversation feeling heavier than when it started. You feel like you've been drained. Like someone sucked the energy right out of you. And yet you keep returning. You keep showing up. You keep engaging. Why? Because history makes us loyal to things that no longer serve us. Because we feel obligated. Because we've known them for years. Because we don't want to be the bad guy. But you have to understand something. History is not the same thing as obligation. Just because someone was important to you once doesn't mean they get unlimited access to your future. Just because you share memories doesn't mean you share a destiny. You can appreciate what someone meant to you without giving them permanent residency in your life. And you don't always need a dramatic ending. You don't need to have a confrontation. You don't need to announce your departure. You can simply create distance. Talk less. Participate less. React less. Protect your peace. The strongest boundary is sometimes not a confrontation. It's a quiet change in access. It's not always a slammed door. Sometimes it's just a door that doesn't open as often. 4. Eliminate overthinking. Now imagine this. It's 2:17 in the morning. The room is dark. The world is silent. But your mind isn't. Your mind is a war zone. You're replaying something someone said 6 months ago. You're dissecting their words, their tone, their facial expression. You're wondering what they meant. You're wondering if you should have said something different. You're wondering if they're talking about you. You're imagining a conversation that hasn't happened yet. You're rehearsing what you'll say. You're preparing for an argument that might never come. You're anticipating rejection. You're predicting failure. You're creating scenarios that only exist in your head. You're asking yourself questions that have no answers. What if I fail? What if they leave? What if I make the wrong choice? What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm running out of time? What if this is as good as it gets? And suddenly, 3 hours disappear. It's 5 a.m. The sun is coming up. You haven't slept. You haven't solved anything. You've just made yourself more anxious. This is one of the cruelest tricks of the mind. It makes you feel like you're solving a problem when you're actually rehearsing anxiety about a possibility. It makes you feel productive when you're actually just spinning in circles. There is a Stoic question that can interrupt this cycle. It's simple. It's powerful. It cuts through the noise. Is this within my control? If yes, do something. If no, release it. That's it. Not easy, but simple. You don't need to solve tomorrow tonight. You don't need to rewrite yesterday. You need to deal with what is actually in front of you. You need to focus on what you can actually influence. Because your mind becomes exhausted when it constantly lives in places your body cannot reach. Your mind wasn't designed to live in the past. Your mind wasn't designed to live in the future. Your mind was designed to navigate the present moment. Come back to today. Today is where your power is. Today is where your life actually happens. 5. Eliminate the addiction to instant gratification. Look at modern life. Everything is designed to give you something immediately. One click, one swipe, one notification, one video, one purchase, one distraction, one dopamine hit. The world has become a slot machine, and we are all addicted to the pull. The problem isn't that these things exist. The problem begins when your brain becomes uncomfortable with waiting. When you sit down to work, and 5 minutes later, you reach for your phone. When you start reading, and suddenly you're checking something else. When you decide to improve your life, but the moment progress becomes boring, you quit. You have trained your mind to demand a reward before it earns one. You have conditioned yourself to expect pleasure without effort. You have weakened your ability to delay gratification. And that is dangerous, because the greatest things in life usually have a delayed reward. Strength, wisdom, financial stability, deep relationships, mastery, character. None of them are built overnight. None of them come quickly. None of them arrive on demand. They require patience. They require persistence. They require the ability to endure discomfort for the sake of a future outcome. So practice waiting. Practice enduring. Finish the difficult task even when you don't feel like it. Take the walk when you'd rather stay on the couch. Keep working when nobody is applauding. Stay committed when the excitement fades. You are not just building a result. You are building the ability to delay comfort. And that ability changes everything. 6. Eliminate the old identity. There's something most people never realize. Sometimes your biggest obstacle isn't your circumstances. It's not your bank account. It's not your background. It's not your education. It's not the people around you. It's the story you've accepted about yourself. I'm just not disciplined. I'm bad with money. I'm always unlucky. I've never been confident. I'm not a leader. I'm not good at relationships. I'm not smart enough. I'm not talented enough. That's just who I am. Be careful with that last sentence. That sentence is dangerous, because when you repeat an identity long enough, you start defending it. You start looking for evidence to support it. You start making decisions that confirm it. You become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Maybe 5 years ago you were insecure. Maybe you made terrible decisions. Maybe you wasted opportunities. Maybe you allowed people to treat you poorly. Maybe you failed. Maybe you fell. Maybe you broke. Fine, that happened. That was real. But it doesn't have to become your permanent identity. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to become quieter, stronger, more disciplined, more patient, more selective, more intentional, more focused. Your past can explain you, but it does not have to control you. The person you were doesn't need to be destroyed. They simply need to stop driving. They need to move to the passenger seat. Or better yet, the back seat. You are the driver now. 7. Eliminate negative self-talk. There is one conversation you have every single day that nobody else can hear. The conversation you have with yourself. And sometimes you are your own harshest critic. You make one mistake and say, I'm useless. You fail once and say, I'll never succeed. Someone rejects you and suddenly you decide, nobody will ever want me. Notice what happened. One event became an identity. One failure became a prediction. One bad day became a story about your entire future. That's not strength. That's mental exaggeration. That's the mind taking a single data point and turning it into a life sentence. Stoicism doesn't teach you to pretend everything is wonderful. It doesn't teach you to ignore reality. It teaches you to see things clearly. To see things for what they actually are, not what your fear tells you they are. So instead of saying, "I'm a failure," say, "I failed at this." There's a huge difference. One attacks your identity. The other describes an event. One shuts down your potential. The other opens the door to growth. Speak to yourself with honesty. But also with discipline. You don't need to flatter yourself. You need to stop sabotaging yourself. 8. Eliminate chasing people who don't choose you. This may be the hardest one for some people. Because when you care about someone, you want them to care back. When you invest in someone, you want them to invest back. When you show up for someone, you want them to show up for you. That's natural. That's human. So you keep reaching out. You keep checking in. You keep trying. You keep giving more. You keep making excuses for them. You keep justifying their distance. You keep hoping that if you just love them enough, they'll finally love you back. But eventually, you realize something painful. You are no longer building a relationship. You are trying to convince someone of your value. You are begging for a seat at a table you weren't invited to. You are chasing someone who keeps running away. Stop. You cannot negotiate genuine connection. You cannot force respect. You cannot make someone appreciate what they have. If someone repeatedly chooses distance, accept the information. Don't turn rejection into a mission. Don't spend months trying to prove that you're worthy. Don't exhaust yourself trying to earn something that should be freely given. Walk away with dignity, not because you hate them, not because you're angry, but because you understand a fundamental Stoic principle. You cannot control another person's choice. You can only control your response to it. And sometimes your most powerful response is acceptance. Sometimes your most powerful move is to stop moving towards them. 9. Eliminate the fear of being alone. There is a difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness says, "Nobody is here for me." Loneliness says, "I am abandoned." Loneliness says, "I am unworthy of connection." But solitude says, "I finally have space to hear myself." Solitude says, "I have the freedom to think." Solitude says, "I am enough company for myself." Some of the most important seasons of your life may be quiet ones. There may come a period when your phone isn't constantly ringing. Your circle becomes smaller. Your weekends become quieter. Your evenings become still. And at first, it may feel strange. It may feel uncomfortable. It may feel like something is wrong. But don't automatically assume something is wrong. Maybe life is giving you room. Room to think. Room to rebuild. Room to discover what you actually believe. Room to heal. Room to grow. Room to become comfortable with your own company. Because if you cannot stand being alone, you may become dependent on people who are wrong for you simply because they're available. You may accept mistreatment just to avoid emptiness. You may compromise your standards just to fill the silence. Learn to enjoy your own presence. When you can sit alone without needing constant stimulation, you become much harder to manipulate. You become much harder to control. You stop accepting anything just to avoid emptiness. And that's freedom. 10. Eliminate the need to control what you cannot control. And now we reach the one lesson that sits underneath all the others. The root, the foundation, the truth that changes everything. You cannot control everything. You never could. You cannot control what someone thinks about you. You cannot control whether someone stays. You cannot control the past. You cannot control the economy. You cannot control every outcome. You cannot control whether your plan works exactly as expected. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control other people's choices. You cannot control the passage of time. But you can control something. Your response, your discipline, your choices, your attitude, your effort, your character, your integrity, your habits, your reactions, your focus. Imagine you're standing on a beach during a storm. You cannot command the ocean. You cannot tell the wind where to blow. You cannot stop the clouds. You cannot calm the thunder. But you can decide whether you panic or stand firmly. You can decide whether you run or you hold your ground. You can decide whether you let the storm break you or you let it make you stronger. That's Stoicism. Not becoming emotionless. Not pretending life doesn't hurt. Not ignoring the pain. It's understanding where your power actually exists. It's focusing your energy on what you can change and surrendering the rest. And once you stop wasting energy fighting reality, you have more energy to build your life. Once you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you have more peace. Once you stop resisting what is, you have more power to shape what could be.